All right, traders, welcome to a quick midday session. It's about 15 minutes before 12 o'clock on Monday, December 3rd. And I would say the theme of the day or the word of the day is probably fade. Or well, I wouldn't say that. Maybe that's not right. But these gap up days are very difficult. It's always hard because if you came in today a little bit underexposed, you feel like you're missing out, right? You got FOMO. But really, my message this morning was, hey, in the first 10 minutes, I want to take as much targets and as much trade, take as many trade exits as possible, especially in shorter dated options. That worked out pretty well. I wasn't able to get out of everything. I'm still holding a couple trades that I got into from last week, but for the most part, this just is kind of how it works sometimes with gap up days. So the Qs, which I have up in front of you, they're still up 1.3%, but you also have kind of a VIX smash that happened on the open, which affects your option prices too. So when the VIX goes down, remember that if that is going to and once an event is out there, option prices generally go down if markets are flat. Market going up obviously is going to minimize that impact. But yeah, it's kind of a game that happens a little bit with the option market makers is they will take that volatility out of the options, that implied move, which affects the prices of the options. So it's difficult, and you got to be quick. And then for the most part this day, what I'm watching is what names are going to hang in there and going to show relative strength versus what names are going to give back all the gains. And I think we're seeing that in a lot of places. Right off the bat in the first half hour of the day, mainly 90% of the flow is put buying, both on the index side and in names like BABA today, which you could see opened up around 168.5, down about $3. So you could have made some money here on the short side. I didn't buy any puts on the open. I was concerned with basically just getting out of some positions. I took some profits, nice profits on my FXI trade. I took some profits on a couple other trades that I had on here. I'm still holding this HUA, which is a good example of like a trade that's going wrong, right? It's down 1.3% on good news, right? This is not the that's basically not what you want to see. So I may decide to dump this trade. I also dumped another trade that I added on Friday in Macy's. It's just not acting the right way, and I don't want to be in a trade that is going to do something like this. So I think the semis are something to watch as well. Excuse me, we are seeing some profit taking going on in those names. And then, what I'm also watching is, things like utilities. There was this big momentum rebalance on Friday, the ETF MTUM. So a lot of money was changed hands there. If you saw that big rip on going into Friday, a lot of healthcare was being added to that ETF. Some tech was being taken out. So that also had an effect on Friday, but I'm interested to see if value is going to come back in vogue here in the beginning of this week. But for the most part, these days, these gap up days, you kind of just have to sit and be patient in terms of you don't want to, in my opinion, you don't want to overtrade these days where you gap up that much because it's just vulnerable to the implied volatility going down in options as well as profit taking. What's going on? Also, what's pretty weak today is small caps. Small caps are now down on the day. So you got to take these days. It was the message that I was trying to kind of say in the weekend newsletter, which was a difficult newsletter to write when you've got to have a gap up situation. But kind of have to take these days one day at a time and try not to get over the tips of your skis in terms of risk. And I'm pretty slim in risk right now, and just will kind of observe and then attack when I see there's a good, when there's a good opportunity. A lot of trades that we saw, last thing I'll say is a lot of trades that we saw on Friday, you kind of keep them as on your watch list. We saw a lot of risk being added in names like TJX, ON Semiconductors, Intel. So, you have to see if they're going to be actually selling out of this stuff or if they're going to be holding it. And then, if they're going to be holding it and maybe adding to it, it may be a place to get in a little bit cheaper. I'm not convinced of that yet, so I'm kind of just watching, and we'll go from there. Again, just take it one step at a time, and we'll go from there. Video, of course, is for information purposes only. Have a great day. See ya.